right, listeners, get ready, because today we are diving into some wild predictions
Wild is right.
for the year 2025.
Buckle up, everybody.
Yeah, and you know what makes this even more interesting?
What's that?
Is that our source today is coming from a single prophetic message
Okay.
that was delivered to a pretty massive audience.
Interesting.
And this isn't just, your typical vague fortune cookie prophecy either.
No.
This speaker is claiming that 2025 is going to be the start of the last ages.
Wow.
Yeah, we're talking about some major global shifts, economic, upheaval,
Right.
and even the return of Nephilim.
Oh, hold on. Now you're going to have to back that up a bit.
Right.
Now,
Okay, so before we get too far, let's just give everybody a little bit of context.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
The idea of watchers and their decrees is kind of central to this whole thing.
Right.
So basically, it's this ancient belief that there are these higher beings who are kind of like influencing the course of human events.
All right. Yeah. So we're talking about beings that are impacting our destiny.
Exactly.
Okay. I'm with you so far.
So with that in mind, let's talk about this prediction about the rapture happening in 2025.
Yeah. So this is where it starts to get really interesting, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because you have the speaker who's claiming that, true believers are going to be taken up to heaven,
Right.
and those left behind are going to face whatever's coming next.
And, the rapture itself has been a topic of huge debate and fascination
Oh, absolutely.
for a very long time.
For centuries.
To actually tie it to a specific year, like 2025.
Right.
And then connect it to, the appearance of these powerful beings.
Yeah, the Nephilim we were talking about.
It's pretty wild.
It's definitely attention-grabbing.
Yeah, and it really taps into, I think, some deep-seated anxieties
Oh, yeah.
that a lot of people have,
About the unknown.
Right. It's this idea of a sudden world-altering event.
That's right.
Separating, believers from non-believers.
It's a powerful concept.
Yeah.
And I think for a lot of people, it really resonates with some of our deepest fears and hopes.
Absolutely.
And then you add in the Nephilim.
Right.
I mean, you're talking about figures that are in many traditions associated with like chaos and destruction.
Right.
I mean, it creates this almost like apocalyptic atmosphere.
It's like something straight out of a movie.
Right.
But let's move beyond the biblical stuff for a second, and let's look at some of the more kind of grounded predictions that this speaker is making.
All right, so what do they have to say about what's going on here on Earth?
Right. So let's start with the global events
Okay.
that they see unfolding in 2025.
Okay, sounds good.
So one of the key areas that they focus on is Europe.
Interesting.
They're predicting the formation of new alliances there,
Okay.
a rise in social unrest,
Uh-oh.
and they even hint at like a new enemy emerging for Israel.
That's concerning.
And this is something that's especially concerning, I think, given the current state of global affairs.
Right. I mean, we're already seeing a lot of tension on the world stage.
Exactly. We've got conflicts simmering in various places, the threat of terrorism,
Absolutely.
and this rise of nationalism in different countries.
Yeah. You have to wonder if 2025 could be like a tipping point for some of these issues that are already kind of bubbling under the surface.
Yeah, it's like we're looking ahead at this future where things are just constantly on edge.
Where instability becomes the norm,
Yeah.
not the exception.
And it's not just the political landscape that's going to be affected.
Right.
We're also talking about some major economic repercussions.
Absolutely. And the speaker predicts some pretty specific things here.
What are they saying?
Well, for starters, they're talking about rising inflation,
Okay.
a shrinking middle class,
Ooh.
and then a strengthening of both the U.S. dollar and the euro.
It's interesting because those things seem kind of contradictory.
They do, don't they?
But I guess in a world where things are, that volatile,
Yeah.
anything is possible.
And I think it's a scenario that resonates with a lot of people. I mean,
Yeah.
we're already seeing some
Yeah.
of these economic trends playing out.
Exactly. Gas prices are up. There's concerns about food security.
Absolutely.
We're getting a glimpse into a future where that instability just becomes
Right.
amplified.
The new normal.
Yeah. And speaking of shifts,
Yeah.
the speaker also predicts a major upheaval in the media landscape.
How interesting. What are they saying?
So they're saying that, legacy media,
Okay.
like your traditional newspapers, television networks, are going to continue to decline,
Right.
while new independent platforms focused on, what they call truth are going to
Take their place.
gain traction.
Wow, that's a bold prediction.
Yeah, and it makes you think about, in this world of instant information online.
Right.
Who gets to decide what truth is?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
It is.
Because, how do we as individuals discern fact from fiction?
Especially when it's coming at us from so many different directions.
Exactly. And the lines are becoming more and more blurred.
Yeah, so it's almost like a call to be more discerning.
Oh, absolutely.
To really, critically evaluate the information that we're consuming.
To be media literate.
And all of this is happening against the backdrop of another major issue that the speaker highlights.
What's that?
And that is resource depletion.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that's something we can't ignore.
No. They specifically mentioned the conflict in Ukraine.
Okay.
And they argue that it's driven, at least in part, by this struggle over, dwindling resources.
It's a scary thought, but it makes sense when you think about it. Because if you have essential resources that are becoming more and more scarce, it's going to create competition.
And conflict.
And that can lead to conflict.
And this is something that I think should resonate with every single listener.
Oh, absolutely.
Because we're all experiencing this in some way or another.
I mean, think about it.
Yeah.
Rising gas prices, concerns about food security.
The climate crisis.
Yeah, the competition for essential resources like water and minerals.
It's all connected.
It is. And the scarcity combined with, we talked about geopolitical instability.
Right.
It creates a breeding ground for conflict.
And it's not just about physical resources either.
What else?
I mean, you could even argue that information is becoming a scarce resource.
That's a good point.
In a world where there's so much misinformation and propaganda.
Right. It's about controlling the narrative.
Exactly.
And who has access to the truth.
So this speaker is essentially saying that, this battle for resources is going to be a defining characteristic of the coming years.
Sobering thought.
Yeah. But let's shift gears for a moment and talk about technology.
Yes.
Because this speaker also has some really pretty mind-blowing predictions about advancements in that arena.
Like what?
We're talking major leaps in space travel.
Whoa.
The potential for inhabiting other planets.
What?
Even the discovery of new energy sources that would completely revolutionize our reliance on things like lithium batteries.
I mean, that would be incredible.
It sounds like science fiction, but who knows?
That's true. Technology is advancing at an incredible pace.
Right. It's like the speaker saying, hold on tight.
Yeah.
Because the world is about to accelerate into this whole new era.
An era of unprecedented change.
And of course, all this acceleration comes with its own set of concerns.
Of course.
The speaker talks about, the dangers of AI.
Right.
The potential for increased automation to displace jobs.
That's a big concern for a lot of people.
And, all these ethical dilemmas that we're going to have to grapple with as technology becomes even more integrated into our lives.
It's that classic double-edged sword.
Yeah.
Incredible potential for progress and innovation.
Right.
But also the potential for unintended consequences and even harm.
So we need to be mindful of that.
Absolutely.
We need to be thinking about these things now.
And then there's this curious detail about Elon Musk donating a significant amount of money to Christ Embassy.
Yeah, that caught my attention too.
It seems kind of random at first glance.
Yeah, you're like, what's that all about?
But in the context of this message, it makes you wonder.
Right. Is there a connection?
Yeah, especially with the emphasis on technological advancement.
It's interesting to think about what Musk's motivations might be.
Right. I mean, some people might interpret this as him aligning himself with the speaker's vision.
With this whole vision of the future.
That's the future, right?
Maybe he's investing in the technologies that could make these things a reality.
It's definitely food for thought.
For sure.
And, we're not done yet.
Oh, there's more.
The speaker also throws in some very specific prophecies. Like what?
Like mourning in Iran.
Okay.
A call to prayer for Portugal.
Interesting.
And even a plague originating in Japan.
Wow.
So, I mean,
that's a lot to process.
It is. It's a lot to process, and it's not just about predicting the future.
What else is it about?
There's a really strong call to action woven throughout this message.
A call to action.
The speaker urges listeners to prepare not just physically, but also spiritually.
So what does that look like?
Well, they talk about finding strength in faith.
Okay.
Seeking out communities of like-minded individuals.
Right.
Even investing in practical skills like agriculture.
So it's about being self-sufficient.
Exactly. It's like they're saying the world as we know it might be changing.
Right.
So, be ready to adapt.
Be prepared.
Yeah. And that message of resilience.
Yeah.
Taking control of your destiny.
in the face of uncertainty.
The face of uncertainty. I think
Yeah.
that's something that really resonates
With a lot of people.
with people, especially during times of like anxiety and change.
Absolutely. It's a natural human response to
Yeah.
want to feel like you have some control.
So, this deep dive has been a whirlwind of information, predictions, prophecies.
A lot to take in.
And it really leaves us with some big questions.
Like what?
Like if 2025 really does unfold as predicted,
Right.
what role are we going to play in all of this?
Are we ready for the potential upheaval?
Yeah, the technological advancements.
The spiritual challenges?
The spiritual challenge. I mean, it's a lot.
It is.
And, regardless of whether we believe in every single detail of this prophecy,
yeah.
it really challenges us to think critically about the future.
To examine our own values and priorities.
And ask ourselves, what really matters?
In a world that's constantly changing.
In a world that seems to be changing faster and faster.
Yeah, the pace of change is accelerating.
So I think, ultimately this deep dive is a call to awareness.
To be present.
To be present, to be engaged.
Or to be prepared.
So until next time, keep those minds open. Stay curious.
That's good advice.
And we'll be back soon with another deep dive.
I'm looking forward to it.
Great to see you then.
Take care.
Bye.